a different world. Hey, then where you come from? Ooh, then where you come from?
Good evening and welcome once again to We Rise Podcast. I'm your host, T. Willard Fair, and I miss being with you, but I'm back alive and well. Hope all is well with you. Hope we all have come out of the hurricane and getting ready for the next one. Our prayers go out to the people up in North Florida. And once again, we know that we don't control the environment, nor do we control what happens before or after. But we can be prepared, and we prepare the best way that we can, and when it comes, that's all we can do. Hope everything has been well after everything has gone through this place called Florida. The government has responded accordingly. Those who are in Florida know what can happen when the hurricane comes. Those who were new to Florida have had the new experience and will know what to do the next time out. But here today, we're going to talk about what used to be, what can be, and what will be. As we said at the beginning, we're going to keep talking about politics. Politics is part of our DNA. It is politics that brought us to America. It is politics that enslaved us. It is politics that freed us. It is politics that desegregated the schools. You name it, politics has been part of our life DNA. And today I've got an old friend, an employee, a little mentee of mine that I'm going to spend some time with. His name is Henry Crespo. He came into my life way back when we had this great plan to prepare ourselves to be impactful economically and politically in Liberty City. It was called the 79th Street Corridor Program. We believed that we ought to take advantage of integration, that we ought to prepare ourselves to be profiteers as we look forward to the new opportunities afforded us by quote-unquote integration. So the 79th Street Corridor, developing affordable housing, becoming an entrepreneur, it said to me that you really couldn't tell folks that they were not making us rich if you didn't have a plan to become rich yourself. You really couldn't say, I don't want to be dependent, and you have no plan to become independent. So we had this plan. Started out with 79th Street Corridor, found a guy named Henry Crespo, put him on staff. Henry, how you doing?
Doing good, brother.
How you been?
Senior. Because my son is out there looking. Say, Dad, you just don't want to be old no more. You don't want to say senior, but you call me junior all the time.
Tell my folks a little bit about you when we got started way back when things were, quote unquote, Henry Crespo with a little child.
Well, I even think before that because I remember before you ran for mayor.
Yeah.
And you, some other leaders, Barbara Howard, those kind of folks. I was kind of always in that midst. And I know Barbara would get on me when he was running for mayor to go put out some stuff. I don't want to tell you my age. But just seeing that during that time, the fear that I know then and I know now is still in that same DNA.
Oh yes, I'm just saying what you see today, you saw yesterday, and what you see yesterday, you will see tomorrow.
Yeah,
you gotta be consistent.
Yeah.
If you're real, you will be consistent.
Yeah.
If you believe in what you're doing, you will be consistent. You don't worry about public opinion. You don't worry about what other people think about you.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be grounded in what you believe. And I tell folks, you may question my behavior, but you can never question my commitment. I would do whatever I have to do to make sure that there's equity and parity on behalf of Black people in this community. And if you don't like my style, that's your problem. But at the end of the day, measure my results.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that you should measure me by.
Yeah.
Did I say it was for Black folks and I ended up being just for the Urban League? Or did I say it was for Black folks and Black folks got it? So everything that we have done has always been to improve the quality of life of Black people in this community. Always has been and always will be.
Well, that's the fit that I know. I mean, it was all about that, and that's what I was attracted to.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of brothers my age at that time that were just around, you know, understood that. I mean, we was raised in Overtown. My pops, my parents, you know, in Cuban, you know, y'all poquito español.
You Cuban?
Still. Nah, you would have never got. I want to tell people put it out, but I'm black. You know what I mean?
That was part of my problem when the Cubans first started coming, and I went to Cuba for the first time in my life and had a chance to get out of the city and go into the hinterlands.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that all the folks who were farming and picking the cotton or whatever they do over there had my complexion. And the first wave of folks who came to Miami, and Lester Pantene and all those folks were white. So I said, y'all look like y'all may have made some decisions based on pigmentation. That sort of stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a long time before I saw a black Cuban in this community. I didn't know that you was one.
Well, let me give you a little history on that, right? Because I think what people don't really understand that United States wasn't the only country that was using blacks as slaves.
Speak to that, because most folks don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, across the board. I mean, you think the Bahamas and Jamaica and all that, but let's just go to Cuba, right? Cuba Spain came in, killed all the Indians. Like, you go to Cuba, there ain't one Indian. Like native Indians we have here, got reservations, none in Cuba. Then they started importing the blacks, early 1700s, around that time. And matter of fact, when the United States got the independence through the Civil War for black folk, in a sense, we call that, 1865, Cuba was still practicing slavery. They had slaves. Not until about 1878, Antonio Maceo, black dude, general. You should look him up. Antonio Maceo.
Oh, I know. What color was Antonio?
He was darker than you.
Oh, absolutely.
Both of us put together.
Absolutely.
And he led the revolution.
Absolutely.
With a whole bunch of other blacks.
Not Fidel Castro?
Nah, man.
Oh, wait, hold up. Now, wait a minute.
No, we're talking about 1800 when everybody was still enslaved.
But I thought it was Fidel Castro to feed everybody.
Nah, Fidel came up with some other stuff. I think the only thing he probably did over there is give some free education and some medicine. But other than that, he has not created anything, no substance for anybody black. Look, if you go into that whole parliament, what they call the Congress and Parliament in Cuba, there's only one black. And he about 100 years old now. They all white. Now, just not to say that white folks are bad. I'm just saying that's nobody's saying
that's
that.
Not the issue.
Right, that's
but
not
in
the issue.
America, what we base progress and servitude on is pigmentation.
Now, this is true.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
So that's the issue over there, and that's why you saw in the beginning the whites that had the money,
had the most of the
resources,
they could get out.
They got out.
That's right.
My parents were a little lucky. They got out in the early 60s. My dad got out about 57, 58. He saw, man, I don't like this guy. He was a merchant marine. He came to the States. My mom's came around 61. But my grandpops, he was in the military. He was like a sergeant in the military and worked in over there it's called los muelles. Over here it's called when the guys work on the dock. What do you call those brothers? Longshoreman. Yes. He was a longshoreman when he finished his service, when he worked after he got out of the military. And then from that, some of my relatives came here and we started a life here. And I was raised here in Old Town.
So folks should know that all around this world, when we go to all these countries, decisions have been made based on pigmentation. It appears in many places. When I traveled around the country as part of Coleman Powell's Cultural Diplomacy Task Force. It was me and 8 white boys. We traveled all over the world. And as we visited these places, you could tell that the folks who were in charge predominantly had a different complexion from those who were not in charge. So it appears that there was something in the mindset that says that we make some decisions based on color. And as you pointed out, America was not the only place in the world guilty of that decision.
Yeah, and you know what was real funny, right? Because even though you had the slavery, is a terrible thing, but you can go to any of my Cuban brothers, right? White boys, because we all brothers in that sense, right? And there's a saying in Spanish that says, "Dímelo dónde está tu abuela." So you got the Cuban boy, he got some money, he doing his thing, white boy, whatever. And a saying to them was, tell me where your grandma is. Because 9 times out of 10, there's some mixed thing going on. Or they might say, quien no tiene de Congo, tiene de Carewarí. Meaning, translation in English is, if you're not from the Congo, you're from the Caribbean. Because when the Spain boys started coming in, killing all the Indians and the blacks, it's a lot of intermingling going on. Anyway, so that's a story with that. And that's why you see, and the thing about a lot of other places in the world is nationalism, right? So when you go to Italy, it's a nationalism. If you go to Cuba, it's nationalism, meaning that if you're in Italy and you're black, right? The first thing he gonna tell you, he knows there's disparity, right? But he says, I'm Italian. You go to Cuba, you white boy black, I'm Cuban. When you go to Jamaica, they black, I'm Jamaican. Now, United States is really interesting because there's a whole melting pot going on, to the point now that if I'm born and raised here or come through the process of shackle slavery, and I allow, let's say, if you look at it, what it looks like for what it is, the American flag. I should be able to put an American flag in front of my house, just like somebody in the Panhandle. They have compromised it in the sense where sometimes when you're black, for some reason you don't want to hold the American flag, but you're here. You just as American as anybody else. Grandma and apple pie. So we should own that and just don't let.
Why is that?
Yeah,
why is it that you have to make that distinction in America?
Because we allow it.
Who is the we that we talk about?
Well, black folks allow that white folks, in a sense, because America is black and white. It's a melting pot, but not in the negative. It's black and white. We know who did the enslavement. We did all of that. So co-opting the flag. So now when you look at a flag, you thinking not just an American. You thinking, well, he's a Trump, or he's this or he's that. And it's not about that. I got a flag. I'll be like, yeah, I didn't wear it today, but yeah, I got a flag. I wear it. I'm like, yeah, I'm an American. And so that's what it is.
Okay. It's election time.
Yeah, it's election time.
And black folks now are the hottest thing in the store. Everybody
only during election
going to be coming to us saying, vote for me, I'll set you free. Vote for me, I'll put a chicken in the box. Yeah. Vote for me, whatever you need, I'm going to give it to thee. Why is it that we are so easy to be duped by those folks who never come to us until this time?
Well, the new politician is different than the old politician. When I say old, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about the Adam Clayton Powells of the world, and Robert Jordans of the world, and all those, during that time. There was a real cause. There was a real movement. Look, Adam Clayton Powell was the dude that passed the most bills in the history of Congress with the Powell Amendment. And here was a dude that was black, believed in working with black people, was able to bring out of his committee with people like Gerald Ford and Nixon and all these cats that you was storming Norman before he went to the Senate, right? You can call them racist, conservative, whatever you want to call them, but he brought the bills out because he was able to maneuver, and bring those bills out to impact poor communities. Because if you were white and you were living in a black neighborhood, you still were going to benefit. All those programs that came out. But those politicians, when you elected them, the Barbara Jordans and them of the world, it was just maybe it was a different fire. Today, it's a little different because now we can go into the store and you can get in the front and the back of the bus. You can got a good job. You can get a house in not a good community, but a community where there's all white or all this and all that. So some people have felt that we've arrived. But I'm not saying we haven't arrived, but the politics should be really focused, not just black, because communities mix, but about about the area that you represent, and you look at how you can best impact that district in that area to try to help folks uplift and get a foot up. And I'm not talking about handouts and all of that. Just the whole process of just creating opportunities, whether it's tax credits and tax abatements or whatever it is for people to once they put their best foot out, they can succeed.
One of the things about being an old colored man of 83 years of age is that there's not too much you can talk about that I don't know something about.
Well, you was around.
Okay. Adam Clayton Powell had to do what they sent him to do. The people of Harlem
That's right.
would not allow him
Oh, that's right.
to go to Washington and turn white.
That's right.
He knew that he had to come back to Harlem
Had to bring
during the recess.
That's right.
And they expected him to come back home.
That's right.
They didn't allow him to become white. Adam Clayton Powell understood that all of Black America was watching him.
That's right.
So he had to perform for all of us.
Yeah.
Henry Arrington, an old lawyer in this town, was his contact in Miami. Henry couldn't drive, and I was his chauffeur.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to go and pick up Adam Clayton Powell's groceries for Bimini over the weekend. And I used to go out to the airport and wait on his woman to come in and put her on the plane and send her over to Bimini. So Adam Clayton Powell knew that the Black America was watching him.
Yeah.
And therefore, if he did not perform, we were all going to be disappointed. We gave him the foundation to be what he had to be in order to deliver what we wanted him to deliver. Now we allow these handkerchief head Negroes to get elected, and then they think that they are in charge, that they don't have to do anything, that I am the congressperson. And therefore, since I am the congressperson, I am here. I don't owe you anything. When they don't perform, it's our fault. Why is it that we allow Black elected officials in 2022 to get elected based on their understanding of our misery? Then once they get in, behave just like white folks?
Well, this probably started happening in the 80s or some sort sometime. But you had, well, I listen, you had a cast of characters back then too. I mean, you had the Kings of the world, the Malcolms of the world, and everybody else in between in the world during that time of movement. The brother from the Urban League, Whitney was around. You know what I mean? He was in the administration. He played for a while over there. It might have been a Carter administration. He got up frustrated. He left. But you had a lot of these characters still moving during that time. And even in Miami, with you and a couple other folks, that was here. I mean, I know Theodore Gibson passed and all those cats, but there were some folks that then, after the struggle, y'all guys went into the struggle of this business. And it's not a struggle, but you went into here and all of those other folks, and we missed something, that accountability. You follow me? Like you said, in Harlem, they had to perform. In North Carolina, they had to perform. We had leaders out there that was out there pushing the envelope and getting on the ground, and there was a real issue of just power and that Black participation. Today, I think a lot of people they just wash their hands with politics, because today politics is so, it's not a lot of substance to it in a sense.
But it still controls every facet of our life. How can we wash our hands of politics? All decisions, what you eat, how you're able to pay for what you eat, what school you go to, whether or not that school gives you a quality education experience. All of those things are politically controlled.
So what Black folks should do, if it's a direct thing with Black folks in particular, right? Because we started out with this whole Black thing, and it's still Black. I mean, we work in our company in diversity and inclusion, and then working with the workforce and bringing businesses engaged that's diverse, right? Black and Hispanic and everything else, but Black in particular, that we move on that, right? But today, there was this. I had just a thought, and it just went out. It's the. I don't know if it's the lazy. I don't know, Brother Fair. I mean,
Well, I know what it is. Once again, what you don't have today, like you had yesterday, is a group of us who said that it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. If you don't deliver on those things that are important to us, we will not vote for you. That you will not be able to come to us in 2022 and say to us, vote for me, I love you. Vote for me because that guy over there is a bad guy. We had an agenda. We understood the process. We didn't care about your party affiliation. We knew that if we put you in and you knew that you were in because we put you in, that politically you knew that you had to be obligated to deliver for us because we put you in, and just like we put you in, we could take you out. We allow folks now to just come and say, vote for me, I'll set you free. And then we vote for them. Or vote for me because that guy over there will keep you enslaved. And there's no evidence that he would do that, but they exploit our emotions and we go for it. Come this midterm election, Black folks are going to be jumping up and down and saying, vote for the Democratic Party. I don't know how any Black person who cares about the future of Black people would take the experience that they're having with this Democratic Party and say we ought to give them another chance to destroy the future of our children. How do you explain that? How do you explain Joe Biden's behavior? How do you explain Carl Harris's behavior as a foundation to build our quality of life on going forward? For me, the Democratic Party is the slave party of the 21st century.
well, I don't know about that.
Well, it is.
I disagree.
Give me evidence. I want you to convince me on my podcast why any Black person who got any sense, any intelligence, will vote for the Democratic Party because they are loyal and they have produced for Black people. Now, you can make an individual decision. I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
But don't tell me that Black folks should vote en masse for the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party has gone out of its way to improve the quality of life of Black people. If you give me evidence of that, I'll go register as a Democrat tomorrow.
Now, you've been a Democrat. So.
I was a Democrat. Yeah, absolutely. But let's be very clear.
Yeah.
I was a Democrat.
Yeah.
Because I was raised up as a Democrat. My mother and the father was a Democrat. But when I grew up, they allowed me to make my own decision. And I decided that I wanted to be independent. Because that's who I am. I do what I want to do, when I want to do it, to whom I want to do it, the way I want to do it. And if you don't like it, I'm independent enough to say, I don't care if you don't like it at all. So that's why I'm independent.
Yeah, no, I got you. And look, and when I was here saying, I don't know, I had lost my chain of thought. So the people that said, I don't know, but you went into what my thought was. And I was going to say that Black folks need to be part of both parties.
Absolutely. We need to be part of who we are. I don't care who it is. If you're over there, it doesn't matter. If that's your philosophical, political opinion, fine. I ain't got no problem with that. But don't tell me that just because it says Democrat, that I should be one because it says Democrat. That's unfair.
Well, look, I don't know about that. But what my philosophy has always been, that we should be part of both. I'm a Democrat, right? But I think that Blacks, I know for a fact that Blacks need to be, if you're coming up, right? And you're about to, when my kids were about to, register or whatever, right? And I had a conversation with them about registration. Let's say I did. I didn't have that conversation with all of them, and they said, Dad, what I should be. I said, well, we got Democrats and we got Republicans.
And independents.
Okay.
Don't leave us out.
Yeah. No, independent. and to be honest with you, Doc, I'm a middle of it's like Barack, I can say. Barack was, let me just be clear on this thing. Barack was a Democrat, but his whole style of movement was he won by middle America. He didn't win by the extreme left, if you want to call it that, the extreme right. He built the middle America, and he went into honky tonk town, and he went into the urban town, and he was able to flow with his dialect and talk about what he talked about, and went in and.
But you know what allowed him to do that?
Who allowed him to do that?
You know what allowed him to do that?
What, that his grandma was white or something?
He was never perceived as a black man.
Well,
he was never perceived as a black man.
Yeah, I mean, because he was raised, but
he was never perceived as a black man. If his name was Jesse Jackson, he would not have been able to do it.
But by the time this dude ran,
if his name was Jesse Jackson, you have to understand
his name Barack Obama name didn't get him elected.
Barack Obama's perception of what names does in America did get him elected.
I don't know about all that.
Oh yes,
he had surrogates around. He had a style, and he went to every look. When we was over, when I was doing statewide stuff on the Democrat, right? Yeah, okay. I went into the most conservative towns.
Yeah.
And I got a good friend up there now. Let me tell you the conversation when we first met. We sitting down in his town, and all Republicans, and he got one of these hats on, and I'm the only brother in there. We having a conversation, and I said, Fred, I'm gonna say Fred because I don't want to use his name.
Okay.
Fred, we kind of alike. He said, what do you mean? I said, if my daughter comes home with your son, the first thing I'm gonna probably say, well, mama, can't you bring somebody that looks like me to get married? And then he looked. And I said, it's not because I'm racist. It's a culture thing. Fred, it's a culture thing. Fred cracked up, started laughing. He said, yeah, it's a culture thing. Because it's your son with my daughter. I might have reversed it around, said his daughter with my son. And I said, now, we get past that. Now they want to get married. Fred, oh my God, dog, I didn't even think it was going to go this far. But now we held up on a shotgun wedding. Because my son is in love with your daughter. And so now we got to go to this wedding. Now we opposed it for whatever. Blah, blah. Now she's pregnant. Now he got to do what's right. Now he gets married. Now they're living up there in your area up here. They got a little trailer, and he can't find a job in this town. And he's going to go work on the fields. Now, you know about that field, Fred, right? He said, yeah, I know about them fields. How much those guys getting paid over there a bushel? Man, they get paid about $50, $20 a bushel. But if my son now is in your town, and all he can do, and I tapped him on the face, is get that picking up bushels in the farm. What you think? And we got a baby on the way. What you think? He said, boy, I'm going to have to call you, and we're going to have to come up here so they can make some more money. So my point is that here's a conversation with this dude that if I would have had any other kind of conversation, he might have looked at me a different way. But I use that example in that story that I feel that Barack would go into a town. And for me, he represented what middle America is. So there is hope for America in that sense. Not the extreme left, not the extreme right, but the middle ground. And that's what got him elected. In that space, if you got black folks, right? If I would probably do it all over, I probably would have joined the Republican Party. Why not? Because I would have been flowing of how I needed to flow within that party. I was raised a Democrat. I'm in the Democratic Party. But don't get it twisted. When I go vote, Doc, I vote for who? I didn't vote for Trump. But there's been a couple of Republicans I voted for. Why? Because I related to some of the stuff they were talking about. So it's all about interest. And then it's all about who you around, how you get educated in the sense of politics. But people today are disenchanted. And back then, you had the wall on 12th Avenue. Black folks were fighting for something. Man, we got to tear this wall down. We in segregated housing right here. So now you can see the discrimination. It was black and white. Now discrimination is a little bit more subtle. You walk into the bank, you got a 750, 800 score. You can't, and you got about 400,000 in the bank, and they don't approve you. But that boy don't look like you, or that sister don't look like you. And now you want to think about, man, how, if I got a 750, 850, I should be able to qualify. Got 400,000 in the bank. I'm making about half, 150 a year. So the racism is a little subtle now. And when you say, and I might be going off on a tangent now, and when they say, well, you black, you racist, man, I ain't got the power to be racist. But if you want to call me a racist, let me define that. Let's give me a definition of race. according to America. What's that classification? White, black, Asian, Mongolian. That's the 4 categories to the Webster's Dictionary. So that describe race. Now you're a racist. Let's look at that word IST. That's put behind the word, like if you practice the fundamentals of a guitar, you're a guitarist. If you work with art, you're an artist. So you could take that word racist that has been used against black people because it was on a negative based on the color of your skin. But if I am a guy that understand that I'm black and I'm working to uplift people that primarily look like me, and if they're not around, you just go with the human race. What does that make you? And today, black folks can't be racist. I mean, there's no definition for you to be against this black man and be racist. But if you are helping people that look like you, then you're classified as a racist.
Nobody else called me racist.
Not you, Doc, because you a different thing. I'm talking about this whole feel out there, what it is. And the reason why maybe in the last 20 years that the politicians have been moving in a certain way.
Which politicians?
Black politicians.
They haven't moved at all. They're the most.
Well, since before the 80s,
they haven't moved at all.
Well, you was around.
Name one thing that a black politician in Washington today.
Well, I ain't talking about today.
Deliver.
I'm talking about the politicians who was before. If you're talking about Congress back then, who was the first since Reconstruction that got elected in Congress here? It was Carrie Meek.
Yeah.
Right? So she was the first sister coming out of Reconstruction.
Absolutely.
So she came with that fire.
Absolutely.
You follow me?
Absolutely.
And Dawkins, even though Theodore Gibson, because before Theodore, I think Athlete Range was the first.
She was the first.
Right. That's that fire, because you had the funeral home or whatever.
But it wasn't Athlete's fire.
Who was fire?
It was the black community's
well,
fire.
That put some fire on her.
It wasn't. You have to keep in mind, it wasn't Athlete's fire. It was the black community's fire. We put her in.
Right.
We gave her an agenda.
That's right.
And she knew that she had to execute the agenda.
Right.
When the meeting was over, she couldn't go to Coral Gables. She had to come back on.
She wasn't allowed to go to Coral Gables, right?
She couldn't go to Coral Gables.
Right. Right.
She had to come back to Liberty City.
But
her children went to Liberty City Elementary School or to Village School.
Yes.
So she knew that she was ours.
Yes.
We put her in. We allow black folks to get in because they look like us and say they represent us. And then once they get in, they don't do anything while they're in. And we keep talking about white folks.
I ain't talking about white folks. We talking about black folks right now. And if some white folks, we put pressure on them too.
No, I ain't concerned. I'm concerned about blacks who just belong to the Democratic Party.
I don't know about all that. But if you got whites that are working like the McConnells of the world and all these cats, they represent white folks because the majority of people that come behind them that putting pressure on them.
Why do we allow white politicians to dupe us into believing that if we vote for them, they're going to represent us? Why would we allow this election where folks who've never shown any concern about us now will come to us and say, I've come to save you. Give me this opportunity. Why would we do that with no evidence?
Well, this is what I do know based on what you just said before. Okay. When we use a sample of Athlete Range, Theodore Gibson, these cats, and brothers like yourself, the activist community, business community was pushing, was bringing the heat, was bringing the fire. So what happened? When you bring fire, you kind of get warm. Or you might get burnt. So that fire made them move because they felt the heat.
Doing that today? Why? If you just got through telling me,
but they are in a different way.
If you got a credit score of 900,
right,
and you go to the bank and you don't get the loan, not because according to quote unquote the qualifications you're not there, but you're saying that it's because you're black. Where is the revolution? I
never said that.
I'm just saying.
Oh, you said
as an example.
Oh, okay.
Where is the revolution amongst us to make sure that does not exist in 2022?
Well, maybe not in Miami.
I'm just saying. if it
Well,
exists.
let's talk
in
about
place-
regions now, because it might not be in Miami.
No, let's just talk about Miami.
But it's in some parts of Atlanta,
If,
some parts of LA.
if anybody who's watching this podcast
You know what I'm saying?
knows that they qualify for a loan in any bank in this town, and they did not get it, they believe because of the color of their skin, call me in the morning, 305-696-4450, and I'll change that. There will be no bank in this town that I'm aware of.
But you can go to the black bank.
I'll go to any bank. I don't go to black bank. I qualify.
Just saying.
I borrow money from every bank in town.
Yeah.
So if there's any black person who, because of the color of their skin, they believe that they can't have access to everything that everybody else in this community has, then I have not done my job. If there's one watching this, let me know. I'll take care of that.
But you built some relationships, and your name precedes you, and those cats that you know, or their sons or grandsons, are somewhat in place in some of those institutions that you can.
Oh man, no, that ain't got nothing to do. Don't make me feel special. All I'm saying
But
to
that's
you
the
is,
truth.
no, all I'm saying to you is that if you care enough to dare enough, if you're prepared to fight for it and die for it,
Yeah.
then you get the kind of respect that you need. If there's anybody in this town, I spent all 6 years in this town making sure that nobody gets treated differently because of the color of their skin. And if there's anybody watching this podcast who can document, not that I feel they didn't treat me right, I don't want none of that stuff. But if you can document that that's the case, I have them on 60 Minutes, Channel 10, and Channel 4 tomorrow, and that will not exist.
Yeah.
That will not exist. And anybody who's aware of it, simply say, well, man, you know how it is, doesn't make any sense to me at all. But back to these black elected officials who tell me that coming up this election time, that I should go out and vote just because I'm a Democrat. Does that make any sense to you? I know you're a Democrat. Explain to me, how do you justify telling any black person to vote for Joe Biden again?
Well, the majority of Black America are Democrats. So clearly you're going to.
I understand the history why. We know why.
Listen,
we are, quote unquote, a beholden people. If you do something good for me, you freed me.
I like Biden, to be honest with you. And I think that he should have ran when Hillary ran, even though, you know.
This stuff ain't personal. I don't know it.
No, Doc. I'm just telling you. I'm just,
I'm talking about the
I'm just
party.
saying well, if you're talking about the party itself,
Why should
there's more accountability.
Okay.
Look, if the majority of blacks are in the Democratic Party, there's
We
more.
understand why.
And because it flips.
We are beholden people. We are beholden.
Well,
they freed us. Okay, that's the history now. That's the history.
No, John F. Kennedy. No, a lot of blacks were Republicans back in the day,
And
when
when-
Republicans were Democrats. There was a switch in philosophy.
When was the shift? That's correct.
Yeah,
Talk about that philosophy.
it was just
Talk about that philosophy. There was a shift in philosophy.
Yeah,
We all belong to the Republican Party
the Lincoln's Republican
because
Party.
the Lincoln's Republican Party.
Eisenhower.
Lincoln freed us.
Yeah.
So we are beholden people. You freed us. We owe you. We will always be beholden to you. The Lincoln freed us.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we had Roosevelt, who
Right.
came up with the New Deal.
Right.
And in order to attract black folks, he began to create special interest groups.
Well, he was a Democrat.
He was a Democrat. And black folks began to leave,
Right.
primarily through the sleeping car porters, because back in those days, the labor unions selected all presidents of the United States.
That's right.
All right. And George Meany and the rest of them began to say to black folks that the sleeping car porters are going to a special deal
Mm-hmm.
under Roosevelt. And black folks once again began to move.
Yeah.
And the
The
welfare.
professional ones, because the housekeepers and the folks working in agriculture didn't benefit off of the New Deal.
And
But
that's why they created welfare reform. That's why they created welfare reform.
okay.
To make sure that it got down to those folks also. So there was a scheme in place.
And poor white folks too.
And
because we attached this welfare, it was just created for black folks.
This was not attached for poor white folks. If you were white, you were just poor. All right. This was attached to attract poor black people.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Welfare Reform Act.
Yes, it was.
Okay, the Welfare Reform Act.
Okay, so now and so therefore you going with interest, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So FDR did his thing.
I understand it.
Right, so who's out there?
I understand.
Went with that.
I understand. That's why I'm saying let's go without interest. That's all I'm saying. You're right.
Well, Eisenhower helped the military and stuff. You know?
I'm clear. I'm just saying let's go without interest. So I don't care what party you belong to.
Right.
If you're gonna help me satisfy my interests,
John F. Kennedy was.
I don't care what your name is.
Lyndon B. Johnson was.
I don't care what your name is. I'm selfish.
Yeah, but it had a D to it.
I don't care what your B or an R.
Well.
Or quote unquote independent.
But wait a minute,
I'm
just
selfish.
said that you were talking about black folks, why they with the Democratic Party.
And I told you why.
And Lyndon B. Johnson.
And I told you why.
Right. So now we're moving fast forward.
I'm saying always go with my interests.
You go and that's
all. So
right.
So tell me why I should still be a Democrat in 2022. Because certainly it's not serving my interests.
Well, I don't know.
Now, wait, give me some examples. Give me some examples. You don't know. You're a smart, intelligent Negro. Give me some answers.
You made a strategic decision.
Give me some answers. Don't give me some answers why black folks en masse should vote for Joe Biden.
Oh, well, Biden is not.
No, but it's a Democratic Party. That's what we're talking about. Give me some answers.
Stop. All of the bills that was passed, other than that other knucklehead that senator from wherever he's from, stopping all the bills.
Oh, what bills? Yeah. What bills?
Okay.
You know you can't come all of the bills. What bills?
Okay. Listen, Biden.
Biden.
Okay. The bills that have passed now.
What bills?
Dude, listen. I if you're gonna ask me a bill, I would have. There's one bill that just passed. Now there's infrastructure. There's an infrastructure.
Infrastructure bill.
This ain't a quiz for bills 101.
No, but
we're talking about. So let's take.
No, what you said. Bill.
So I just mentioned one.
Infrastructure.
But
how does it impact on black folks?
But the point. There's a lot of opportunities if you're working in business.
Tell me what problem in Black America today is going to be resolved by the passage of an infrastructure bill.
Well, first of all,
only going to make contractors and architects and real estate lawyers richer.
First of all, let me say this to you, right?
Okay.
When you talk about the federal government, right, you focus in on Biden. My politics don't focus on Biden. My politics. I'm telling you, no. I'm gonna tell you, no. I'm black now. I'm black here.
You're in Crespo. You're in Crespo.
But I can't go. I'm black. I ain't seen nothing else. Are you talking about my color? Are you talking about part of my ethnicity because of my parents? And being transportation from Africa. You can't talk about my attitude because I'm giving it to you straight. So you talking about a national politics? Let's talk about local politics. No, because the federal
name infrastructure. Tell me how that's going to impact black.
Listen, Doc. The good thing about cats with your age, you're able to move it, manipulate it, and turn it around. So if you're talking about how Democrats are trying, no, you're not demonstrating now because you stuck on this. Well, listen,
but you put it on the table. I didn't put it on the table.
You asked me what Biden did. I talked about infrastructure.
Tell me how
that's all I said.
Tell me how it does.
But I'm going to another level.
Tell me how it does.
I don't care about that right now because that comes down through the pipeline of federal government. What moves politics in a real way for black folks is local politics. So even though Adam, wait a minute, hold up. Even Adam, I'm about to break it down. Okay. So if we talk about Adam Clayton Powell, or you talk about FDR, you just said FDR passed a bill that helped the poorest all the way down to the ground. If we're talking about Lyndon B. Johnson, it did a lot of stuff for housing and all that to the ground. So we're moving now to where we are today. Okay. The politics have moved a little bit from national politics to the local politics. So we have to understand where some money is that really impacts local gats, like James Bush was doing when he was elected, and some other cats that were doing, was bringing home substance, bringing home money locally to whether they're programs, whether impact housing, we're creating some jobs. That's what something that from the state legislature did to making its way to local ma and pa as state money coming down, which is billions and billions of dollars at the state level. And then when you go local, you got city commissioners, county commissioners. That's what we need to talk about. Back then was the Powells. Today is the Congresswoman Meek and the Frederica Wilsons and and the Hardeman commissioner and the commissioner, Keon McGee, you know what I mean? Oliver Gilbert, Barbara Jordan was there, Barbara Carey. These are the black local politicians here that are responsible, right, to bring home opportunities for their districts, right, as it relates to the need of that area and that community. And that's from the state legislature, right, all the way down to the local. So that's what it is. So when Biden passes some money up there, it passes down to our congresswomen or congressmen that is here. Then it passes down to, like the empowerment zone came down from from Clinton. And it created a lot of opportunities for cat here on the local because of the Barbara Carries and them that were there. And you know about that.
I just want to ask you.
I'm not gonna get on that.
I just want one question.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
I'm not gonna get on. I just gave it to you.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you did not.
I laid it down to the local politics. So why are you so fascinated?
I ain't fascinated. I'm raising the question. I'm not fascinated. I'm just asking you one question.
I just said it.
Tell me why.
You missed. You got it, Doc. No, you got it because I broke it down all the way to the local government. So you say me local government is not important?
That's not the question.
No, that's my question.
But that's not the question.
So we both got two questions that neither of us are answering.
Answer my question.
Well, I already did.
No, you did.
I said transportation.
Transportation.
I said transportation.
So black folks should vote for the Democratic Party because
you asked me
why should black folks vote for the Democratic Party? That's my question.
Listen,
that's my question.
Listen. I said
Henry, that's my question.
Let me answer it.
Tell me why black.
We just went through a whole process of presidents that were Democrats, and even from Congress people, from Adam Clayton Powell, all of this, all the way to now, all the way to who we have now, that have created and have worked more for the advancement and access for black people.
So let me
for
be
black
very,
people.
So let me be very clear now. So because historically, is that what you're saying? We have a history of black folks,
right,
having benefited from being part of the Democratic Party.
Now,
is that what you're saying?
But hold on.
No, let me make sure I understand it because I'm slow. I'm 83
Now you ain't slow at all. You're
using
using that slow movement to give you some.
I don't need anything. I don't need anything. I just want to make sure I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
You're saying to me that black folks should vote for the Democratic Party en masse.
I didn't say en masse. You said that.
I never said that's what they're doing.
That's what you said.
No, that's not what I'm.
Now, what I did say to you.
Hold on, Henry. Hold up, Henry. That's not what I'm saying. That's what the evidence.
No, that's what you said.
But that's what the evidence. So I'm not making it up.
No, I'm saying that's what you said.
But
I also said,
Henry, you're not listening.
I've been listening.
The evidence says.
Okay.
That 9 out of 10 black folks are Democrats.
Okay.
That's the evidence.
That's fine.
No, that's the evidence. So I'm not making it up. I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
Given the history of the party.
Yeah.
Why is it that we are unabatedly, undeniably pro-Democrat? That's all I asked you.
Listen, Doc. What I said to you was, after showing
answer
this
my
example,
question.
I'm going to answer it the way I want to answer it. If you don't want to answer that, we can cut this right now, my nigga. It's all good. You know what I mean? So you was hood too, we can get a little neighborhood too. But my point is this, Doc. My point is this. I also said to you that we need black folks in both parties. I said that to you now. But you can roll the tape back. No. You said no. It don't matter.
It does matter.
No, because you want me to answer the question like you want me to. I just answered it.
What's the question? Why is it that black folks unabatedly vote?
Listen.
That's all I asked you. Now you must answer that. Just answer that question.
We went through, I'm going to say it again.
Say it again.
We went historically why the Democratic Party was able to to embrace
So we are
black folks. So
they embrace
no,
us.
you said it. I didn't say that.
They
So
embrace us.
because of the policies, the
And
racism,
still
all of that. Wait a minute.
Still in 2022.
With
they
Bull
embrace us.
Connor lynching us and all that kind of crazy stuff was going on. No, now you cut me off.
No,
I'm giving you something real.
So we can move on. So we're broke.
What?
So then we can move on. In
What?
2022, we're still on mask.
In 2022,
we're still on mask, voting.
in
Hold up here. Let me make sure I understand because you're smarter than I am. In 2022, we still are overwhelmingly voting for Democrats because of the fact that we have a history of what they have done for us.
No.
Is that why we're doing it?
What I'm saying to you,
Okay. If that's not good, I didn't understand.
historically,
Historically,
since after FDR and all this kind of stuff,
FDR, Emancipation Proclamation,
all of that. No,
Roosevelt.
Emancipation was what's his name was Lincoln, but
Lincoln.
we're talking about Democrats.
Democrats all the way.
And there was some, Eisenhower and all was Republicans, but still.
Also, what the party did for us.
And now,
We
all I'm saying that they worked in attracting black people by policies and legislation to help some folks like the porters and all this kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
Moving fast forward till today.
Okay.
You asked me without prefixing this, all this other stuff you're talking about historically. You asked me, well, what do you think about black folks? Why they all in one party and blah, blah, blah. And I said to you personally, right, on record, that I believe that black folks should be in both parties.
That was not the question.
No, but that's the way I answered it.
But that's not the question.
Well, that's the way I'm answering it.
But that's not.
Well, that's the way it is. Now you acting like Mr. Charlie.
Well, I am
Mr. Charlie now tell me you ain't free yet.
I am Mr. Charlie.
Even though we won the Civil War, you got me in Texas still thinking I'm a slave. So now you act. He said now you saying
you are a slave.
So if I'm a slave, you a slave.
You generically are a slave.
No. So you too, right?
The Democratic
so
Party.
We both?
No.
Oh, you talking about party?
I'm talking about
no.
Any black person who belongs to the Democratic Party days.
That's a lie.
21st.
That ain't true.
Well,
that ain't true. I would say to you that black folks in America, since slavery, since Frederick Douglass and all these brothers, been working their interests. Black folks with no power or with power or given the right to vote. It's about interests of who speaks to you. So who speaks to you?
So
sometimes when you
speaks to you. Hold on.
No.
I'm not make sure I have to
see you using all that psychology.
It's not psychology. I'm just trying to understand you. I'm slow.
No, you ain't slow. I want to talk to the Fed I used to talk to when he was running for mayor. That's the one I want.
Whoever speaks to you, it's the same one. Whoever speaks to you,
he's twisting it around.
No, I'm not twisting it around. Whoever speaks to you is who you vote for.
Why did you go with independent and why do you kick it with Republicans? Because they speak to your issues.
No, I speak to anybody who speaks to my issue.
They speak to your issues.
I speak to anybody who speaks to my issue.
They speak to your issue as it relates to your business and how you do. Now you're switching it around.
No, I speak to my issue.
So you just said what I'm saying, but you twisting it around.
I'm talking about black folks.
I said to you that black folks should be in both parties. What you don't understand about that?
I understand that. I'm asking you why.
I don't know about that. That's not my philosophy. It's not me to answer. You want the answer? Ask Freddie B to somebody else, Susie or whoever, to answer that. My answer to that question is that black folks today, right, should be playing in both parties. And I said to you, had I been younger before, I would have probably joined the Republican Party because we need more of us in that so they can just understand this whole flavor, man, that we got, because black folks are flavorful, brother. So I'm not gonna damn all black folks because historically it's like, and let me tell you, it is who speaks to you, right? Because when you got a child at home and she knows she in trouble, who you think she gonna come speak to? The one that she can speak to so she won't get a spanking.
Well, Henry, let me tell you.
So don't tell me you don't talk to people or you don't react to people that speaks to you a certain way.
Let me tell you, thank you very much for being with me. I want you to come back.
Yeah.
So that we can continue this conversation.
Yeah. I'm moving around because you got me. This black. No, I'm not upset.
The body language.
I love black people.
I know that you.
And I've been working with black people just like when you were mayor, how old were you when you ran for mayor? Not how old are you? How many years ago?
It's time for us to
30 years ago, right?
You coming back next week?
I don't know if I come back next. You maybe be number 2.
Next week we got.
But I know you since then.
You know me since
so
then.
You know how black I am.
I know how black you are. I didn't question your blackness. It was about whether or not today's black folks who belong to the Democratic Party are today's more than slavery. I think so. He doesn't think so. I want to thank y'all very much. We're going to keep this up next week. Election time is here. Black people, please don't be used. You got power. You can do what you want to do. You can make your own choice. You can be like Henry, or you can be like me, or you can be yourself. The most important thing is don't be used. See you next week.
About most of our lives, but we've made it still standing, 'cause they can't destroy what's inside. Black people keep going.